Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, joined on this fine Thursday night by Raj Chapalu, who has some news that we'll get to here in a second. He wasn't on the show yesterday. Raj, I actually made a pro JHS point on a podcast.
Wow.
And you weren't here to witness it. Unfortunately, that is my quota for the year. So, tough spot that you find yourself in now, but here we are.
I feel very vindicated because of the love that Scottie Pippen Jr. and J.R. are getting. I feel like it's really adding to my point. So I feel like people are finding it like, oh, that kind of makes some sense. Like that kind of makes some sense while you're not over a prospect after like 100 minutes. But I'm glad you came on the side for a little bit and then jumped 2 feet right back over. But at least you got to see what this side is like for a little bit.
I don't even know what side it was. It was just like, hey, he's played 21 games.
Yes.
He's like, he can barely drink legally if he can. Maybe wouldn't give up on him as quickly as the Lakers appear to have. Anyway, we'll talk we'll talk about the South Bay Lakers here in a bit because of Raj's big news. We also have to talk about Anthony Davis and the foot issue that he is dealing with. This is about as technical as the terminology gets from the Lakers. They said he's dealing with plantar fasciitis, something I have had way too much experience with. And I guess I can outline some of what he's going through and what this would mean here moving forward. I also, as a result of some of the stuff we've been seeing from D'Angelo Russell, have been wondering a lot more lately about Zach LaVine. I was told earlier in the year or coming into the year that, just kind of keep an eye on that name and that the Lakers are probably going to circle back now that LaVine is healthy. Now that JJ Redick appears to have realized that D'Angelo Russell is in fact D'Angelo Russell. We're going to talk about LaVine too, but drum roll, please. Raj, what's your big news?
Yeah, so I have joined on with Clutch Points. I'll be their official G League reporter, their beat reporter, which is nice, which is really cool, and kind of be their beat guy for all the Lakers young players. And that's basically it. I posted that on Twitter, and I appreciate everyone who's kind of shown love and the DMs and the mentions and all that. So I'll definitely it's always tough when you post news like that, Anthony, and like you're going down the line and like you're trying to just reply to everybody. And you look at the clock, it's been an hour and you just have not moved, and you're just like trying to thank everybody, which I'll get to. But it's been cool. Went to media day today for South Bay and kind of got to talk to some of the players and the coaches. But I'm excited, man. It feels like, Bronny's having a very much a Caitlin Clark, impact on South Bay, and the tickets have already jumped over to, crazy amounts, which is really cool. I think more people should go to South Bay, and it's at the Lakers facility. Like, it's a beautiful place to go. It's a really cool, like, place in LA.
Tiny gym. There is not a single bad seat in that arena.
No, not at all. Yeah, very small.
Other than the coach who has to decide, like, do I play Bronny in this spot?
All right.
Or do I play the better player?
Oh man, that's still a great seat. That's still an amazing seat to be at. By the way, like Zach Guthrie looks like even somehow the Lakers got an even younger coach than JJ for their South Bay team. It's funny. I got to talk to him today. It's like, man, he looks younger than JJ. We're just destroying the market on all the super young coaches that are available. But yeah, I'm excited to kind of get started. And we got JHS spoke today as well, and Maxwell Lewis, who are named as vets on that team. Again, like I'm going to keep pushing this drum, Anthony. We just saw Scottie Pippen Jr. and J Huff, who were seasoned veterans on the South Bay squad, become legit players and hand the Lakers a loss and maybe destroyed our locker room. I saw some videos of JJ Redick on the bench, which were pretty insane his reaction to some of the D'Lo shot
I grabbed one of
selections.
them. Here's one of them. Here's JJ's reaction to the shot.
Is this the jumper? Yes.
Jay
In the corner by Huff, 10 to shoot. Steps back beyond the arc, blocked by Huff. Huff stuff.
They zoom in on JJ.
Huff,
They're
another
like
three.
assaulting
Scored
the chair.
You know how
It's
upset he must have been, like, to get to that point? The Lakers were already down, I think, like 19 at that point. So he's already kind of accepted defeat of the loss.
Yeah.
And like for that shot to just push him over the edge. Yeah, dude. He looked upset.
I told Rob to fucking trade him. Were you not watching the last two seasons, Rob? Like,
oh man.
I don't even care how much draft compensation we need. Go get me a guard who can get by Scott.
Oh man. 22 minutes.
The fun bit to introduce to the show. JJ Redick's like inner monologue is, you know, the JJ Redick translator. No, Raj, I am absolutely thrilled for you. I said this on Twitter earlier today. It's just something really cool, you know, seeing people really chase their dreams and see people willing to put in the work to get after it and make shit happen for themselves. So, you know, obviously thrilled to have you a part of the Clutch Points Lakers team. You know, I think there's probably a pretty good chance that you'll be filling in some and being credentialed for some actual Lakers games too over the course of the season too. And I'm really excited for that opportunity for you too. And I apologize in advance for the, you know, crooked looks that you're gonna get because of stuff that I say and I write. In those moments that you
Right. Yeah.
that you're there and covering the team for them. But no, I was, you know, when I was getting hired by Clutch Points, they had kind of asked, hey, obviously you covered the team from afar. Is there anybody that you would like to work with? And I was like, dude, there's this guy who wants this more than anybody. And he is going to put in the work. He is an absolute, you know, undeniable force in terms of like his love of basketball and his love of doing this and how badly he wants to do this. I keep on trying to keep him away from this. But he just won't go away. Let's give Raj a shot. And I was, you know, just absolutely thrilled that this all worked out. And I honestly know that a lot of the coverage is going to be kind of circus stuff, you know, covering Bronny and all of the noise that kind of follows in there too. But I also think that there's a lot of value that you're going to bring when you're actually breaking down the basketball that is being played on that court there and by those South Bay Lakers as well. And there's some great stories to tell. I think some of my favorite interviews that I've ever done were with South Bay Lakers. You know, we asked somebody at one point, Harrison and I did, if they'd ever been traded for a machine, a washing machine. And they understood the joke and they rolled with the joke. They understood like what was going on there. PR person who was there present didn't love it as much. But it's just, no, I think that the biggest thing here is I love seeing people who I know are going to get after it, get these kinds of opportunities. And now it's on you to make of it what you will. But congratulations, bud. I'm really, really happy for you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And obviously, thank you. People don't know the amount of, you know, questions that I ask for you and after these shows and how long these conversations go, or I get to pick your brain. And obviously you've helped me a ton in this situation, and, you know, everybody else around, you know, Harrison, Sabrina, Aaron, list go on of all the people that have kind of answered my questions through this stuff. But and I'm excited, man. Like today, Quincy Oliveri was like a star, you know, and I feel like he's a guy that needs his story told. Alex Fuzz just came off a finals run, and like, you know, it's cool to kind of talk to him. And I definitely want to bring like a different view to this type of coverage. I've told you this privately all the time, but like I feel like basketball coverage has such a gap in terms of how it's viewed, especially how the NFL is covered and other sports kind of are allowed to be super detailed, while basketball kind of gives you a lot of surface level, stuff in terms of their coverage. So I'm excited to be a part of that. Hopefully, that's something that other people really gravitate to as well. But yeah, just excited as hell to get to work. I was like there super early. I was the first media person there. I was like, can I just come inside? They're like, no, I'm sorry. You got to stay outside till we open the doors. I was like, all right, that's fine. But no, it's really cool. Excited to be there Saturday as well. Bronny's first game, tickets are already going crazy on the, secondary third markets. So if you haven't got your ticket, it's going to be tough to get in the door without spending a couple $100s. But yeah, make sure to tune in. And if you can get to some South Bay games, please do. And if you're there, hit me up on Twitter. I'd love to say hi. Again, it's a small gym, so we can definitely run into each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've been saying for years that South Bay Lakers games are a delight to go to. Now, unfortunately, I moved away before they started playing in that arena that they play in, and obviously the commute from Austin, Texas to the UCLA Medical Center is a little tough. It's a little tough to make.
It's worth it.
But I you look at the gym and because they televise these games and you can see on there, it's like, you're on the court basically.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder at some point, with the amount of attention that Bronny is getting, if they play a couple games in bigger arenas, to maybe get a bigger payday on
If they
this
play at
side of things.
Crypto, I may not sleep the night before. Like, that might be the most exciting nights of my life. Like, that would be so incredible. That'd be amazing to
Yeah.
will come to a South Bay game in Crypto would be just an awesome thing.
Hey, look,
Hopefully that happens.
People spend money on dumber things. All right, so let's dive on into the Lakers and the actual biggest news of the day, aside from Raj's big update. There is that Anthony Davis is apparently dealing with plantar fasciitis. This would explain why they are saying that it was something he was dealing with back during the Olympics. It's the kind of thing that, like, it comes and it goes and it sticks around and it lingers and it feels like it's never going to go away. And then one morning you wake up and holy shit, I don't. It doesn't hurt like hell to walk right now. It's a lot of ice. It's a lot of just staying off of it. It's a lot of rest whenever you possibly can. It's a lot of stretching if you're getting ready to play. Even though it doesn't seem to make a ton of sense that you're getting ready to given what's going on. So basically, if you think of, I'm going to try to turn my hand here, but like if you basically think of like it just doesn't work, but if you like, this is the arch of the foot right here, right?
Okay.
And so the plantar fascia is like, this tendon that runs along the bottom of your foot here, and if you like bang your heel enough, and if you do enough of jumping and running and stuff like that, eventually, like, you're going to start to feel some kind of discomfort there. Plantar fasciitis is the swelling that takes place there. And it's these little micro tears that take place along that kind of tendon that I just kind of tried to point out. And I think the case of plantar fasciitis that I always kind of come back to is actually Luke Walton, who dealt with it a ton. And at one point, I remember one of the updates was like his plantar fascia tore, and actually it's more comfortable than if you keep on having that same pain. It means that you have I think usually people get surgery for it eventually if it does tear, but it's actually more comfortable when that thing finally gives way, because that pull and that swelling that gets in there and those little micro tears, it just, dude, I don't know if you've ever dealt with it. It is so annoying. It's between that and like tweaking your Achilles tendon. It is just like, those are two super, super annoying things that obviously can grow into bigger ones, but they just linger. And, it's the way that most people ice it is actually to freeze a water bottle and then basically roll your foot on this water bottle. And that doesn't feel great, because you're putting pressure on the exact spot that hurts while you're doing it. Like, I don't know if to those who've been paying attention long enough, I used to box, and the worst pain, I think 2 pains that I suffered that were the absolute killers was one time I broke my wrist and it had to be set and they didn't do anything for it. But then another time, or the other times, plural, where you're boxing and you get hit enough and your face swells up and they literally take an ice block and they like rub the swelling out, and that shit hurt like a motherfucker. Plantar fasciitis is another version of that exact same thing where you're literally trying to rub swelling out of this already tender spot. So, I hope that it doesn't linger as much as it does for normal people for AD. But yeah, it like when I heard that this is what he was dealing with, I was like, yeah, that tracks. Okay, that makes sense.
Well, good thing the Lakers, have a team that can really, afford for Anthony Davis to take his time and be patient and really let this thing heal. Like, good thing the Lakers have a lot of
So many big bodies.
backup. Yeah, a lot of centers. South Bay, by the way, has 2 additional 7-footers beside Koloko, so some ammunition there. But yeah, the good thing 80. No, that sounds rough. I've never actually, dealt with that. Probably dealt with something similar, not the exact same thing in terms of on the foot. When you mentioned that, like it hurt, I think I read that it hurts when you're like jumping and making contact. It's like, well, that's kind of his whole job. I mean, that's like part of the whole job description of AD is to be jumping and, protecting the rim and switching on the perimeter and, pretty much be in motion. Yeah, it's a tough thing to deal with. Thankfully, I guess the Sixers are like handing us a win on Friday. Like all their players are out. Paul George is on a minutes restriction. So there's some, you should be able to hang with that version of the Sixers that's coming in. Although a desperate team at 1-7, I think they're 1-6 or whatever they're at.
I think now
1-6, which is a pretty desperation squad. Perfect for Paul George to come be the leader on. But a very desperate ball club that's coming in. So maybe AD can sit that one and the Lakers can afford it. But Anthony, rewatching that Memphis game, I don't know how he gets stops, without AD. Even just his physical body being there, like, has a deterrent for other players. When he's out of the game, I feel like it's a free run to the rim for pretty much every guy. The Lakers kind of.
Koloko looks so small out there. He looks so skinny. Like he's a long body and stuff like that, but he's a slender man. Like it's crazy how much weight he's giving up to any average NBA center.
I was hoping to speak to him today, and they're like, "Oh, well, he's coming off a flight from Memphis, so he's not going to be here at media day." I was like, "Well, I mean, we got a game tomorrow. It's not like he has like a ton of time to recover." But
he's stuck on the tarmac. How long's the flight from Memphis?
Right.
Gary Vidi's still running the air traffic control, so they flew out to Nashville first. They're stuck in Nashville right now on a layover on their way back from Memphis. Sorry, bud, you can't talk to Christian Koloko. Yeah, I don't know. The point that you're making, though, is facetiously as you're making it, is a good one, though. Is that, like, normally with plantar fasciitis, the remedy is rest. The remedy is to stay off your foot for a little bit, get it elevated, get that ice in there as often as you can, stretch it and do all of those things so that, the next time you actually do step on the court, that isn't in the back of your mind at all. Again, he was dealing with this in the Olympics. So I'm sure that he was hoping that he would be able to play in those few games there and then rest in the months leading up to the season. But this is the thing about this stupid fucking injury is that, like, my fists are bald thinking about the plantar fasciitis that I've dealt with in the past. It hurts, man. It, like, there are people who are like, there's a commenter here, I think it's Isobar, who was saying that I've had it and had to get shots in his arch. There's, there are some people who have to wear like full on boots when they're dealing with this, that make that impact in that area not so tough. Like, think of it like this, Raj. Imagine sticking a rock about the size of like an AirPod case,
okay,
in your shoe under your arch, and then like walk around like that for like a week. and that's essentially how, like, that's the sensation that AD is kind of dealing with, where it can sometimes it's just annoying. There are sometimes it's like, I just need to get the stupid rock out of my shoe, like just this really, and then sometimes it's a stabbing pain when that tendon really gets stretched. It's just not a fun experience.
So here's my question. We're on game 9. Like I'm wondering, like, what, like, is this something that's surgery is necessary, or is this something like where rest kind of can heal it completely? Like, we need AD for the long haul. Like, I understand we need to also rack up wins now, but I mean, 4-4 gives you a little bit of wiggle room to kind of, I think this team has enough talent at least to win on Friday, and then you can kind of reassess from there. But yeah, is this something that like needs surgery or like real attention, or like you think
Surgery,
this is a rest?
no. Like, if he's able, like, the fact that he's considered probable for Friday's game would indicate that surgery doesn't seem likely.
Right, it's not put in the equation. Yeah,
but it is the kind of thing that just kind of just like sits there, man. It's you'll see this sometimes with like a lot of soft tissue injuries, where pull a hammy and it just kind of stays there all season. You pull a groin and it just kind of stays there all season. Sometimes it gets better, sometimes it gets worse, but oftentimes just kind of like you kind of keep coming back to it over the course of the season. So again, if the Lakers had an able-bodied center, ideally AD could take a week or so off and just see how it feels after a week. But could you imagine this team without Anthony Davis for a week?
yeah.
Could you imagine this team without Anthony Davis for a 5-minute stretch?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
no, it's there's no. I just don't know how we survive defensively without him. And LeBron had 39, and I thought LeBron played his best game of the season so far in Memphis, and still, like, it was pretty much a runaway game in the second half. It was funny because, again, today we have a two-way, Anthony Armel Troyore, who's 6'8", but and I asked him, like, hey, are you interested in being like a small ball center? He's like, nah, more like a bigger forward. I was like, all right, so kind of like, you're not gonna get me on that. But yeah, the Lakers definitely need some center help. Jackson Hayes and Koloko, it's a rough center rotation, especially with the amount of responsibilities the center has. I mean, the amount of small guards that we play, it emphasizes the need for your center to be that much better defensively. And yeah, without AD, I think this is going to be a rough watch for the next few days. Hopefully, he's back. He's probable, like you mentioned. So I'm expecting him to play on Friday, just out of necessity. The team is 1-4 in their last 5.
Yeah, I hope that he's able to play and they're able to beat the shit out of the Sixers quickly enough so that he can like get out of there and put that ice on that foot and just kind of take it easy. Because yeah, the longer that this just kind of lingers, man, the scarier that it can kind of feel, So hopefully we're the biggest thing is like you just hope it doesn't get worse, right? Right now it seems like it's manageable. It's a pain tolerance thing. Can you go tonight? No. Can you go tonight? Yeah, kind of thing. But what you don't want is for it to get worse, and then I'd have to ask Jen about surgery if it fully tears, like if it actually does rip apart. I would imagine that would require surgery, but I'd have to look back and think about it. Jen, I was asking her if she wanted to come on the show tonight to be able to explain some of this stuff. But my son has been waking up pre-5 a.m. ever since it changed from daylight savings time. And I told her, babe, you're good. I will bullshit my way through this and ask you questions later. Let's segue to somehow more painful, a more painful conversation, a more painful topic, and that is the Lakers guard rotation. You have JJ Redick fighting chairs on the sideline because of D'Angelo Russell. Before that, it's so funny how Gabe Vincent just keeps on kind of like sliding away from accountability because D'Angelo Russell is just so much more loud in everything that he does. Before the game, Redick was fighting a chair. He said, like, he called out Gabe Vincent in all but name. He said the
Right.
exact number of minutes that Gabe Vincent played, 18, and mentioned the
The
exact
guy with
number of
GB
shots.
initials. Yeah, like just did
Yeah,
not did it.
the exact number of shots that Gabe Vincent didn't take, 0. He did everything he could but name Gabe Vincent specifically. So he has now called out the 2 veteran, kind of leader point guards that the Lakers were hoping to lean on. You have Max Christie, who has already been supplanted in the rotation by Cam Reddish, and you have Dalton Connect, who, like, because of all of the noise elsewhere, nobody is really paying attention to the fact that Dalton Connect, like, clearly isn't quite ready for the role that the Lakers need him to play too, in order to like make up for what the other guys aren't bringing. So, yeah, it led me to a dark place, Raj, and I had that executive tell me earlier this year, "Hey, man, just so you know, this is going to come up again.
But
Zach
before
LaVine's healthy now, and he's playing good basketball. We know how much the Lakers like their stars. This guy's a former All-Star. Couldn't you see it being sold by Pelinka and the Lakers?" Is like, Lakers acquire multi-time All-Star and multi-time slam dunk contest champion or winner or whatever, Zach LaVine. And I was like, yeah, but that's just like so much money that they would have to send out, and they would put themselves right back into the same situation that they found themselves in with Russ. I just can't see it. But the more time that goes on, the more I start to wonder, is this going to be a thing here moving forward? But the question I have to you, Raj, is like, would it solve anything?
Well, before that, I'm gonna put you in a little darker place because I'm gonna take my second Cam Reddish victory lap that I'm gonna take around the park because he played again.
Why? Did you hear me and Harrison describe what that lap is?
No, I didn't get.
It's the mile that you run for like 7th grade PE. Where like you have to run a mile. It's not a victory lap. It's a lap. It's just running.
I actually loved that mile because I remember I got first place in that mile. I remember, but no, I'm gonna take the lap because he played again against Memphis, and again I'm seeing more and more people kind of ask for Reddish minutes, which I think I kind of saw coming. But yeah, the guard rotation is funny watching. Gabe Vincent finally get mentioned by JJ Redick in terms of his shot selection. It's just that's just not sustainable, Anthony. Have a guard play 20 minutes and take no shots, like take 0. He didn't record an assist, a shot, or a point, or a rebound in like 20 minutes in the game before, which is impressive, which is extremely impressive to like go out there for that long and just absolutely get cardio. He did get 1 steal. I got to go back and see what he did. And the second thing, you mentioned this to start the year, and I think this was true. You mentioned that the front office would look at the record and look at the team and kind of assess, okay, is it worth it spending draft capital to make this team better? Like that's a real assessment that they'll do. I'm not sure the exact calculation of what it is. It's definitely not like 4-8 or 4-7, going into their first 11 games. And Zach LaVine is such an investment on that. And even forgetting that, I think like his health concern is just something where no matter what he averages, like it's just not, in my opinion, their cards and like in our cards in terms of, what he is and what it would take to get him. So I don't think he solves everything either. To me, this team has a defensive problem. We've given up before going into the Memphis game, and then against Memphis, we gave 131 points. So it probably added to this, but we were like 6th in points allowed. We were 2nd after the Memphis game, we were 2nd worst or 20 or 30, whatever it is, 29th in defensive rating, right above the injury-riddled Hawks and right above the injury-riddled Pelicans. Our defense is terrible. And this is with AD playing. AD just missed his first game. Like this is with AD Anthony playing like 40 minutes a night. Yeah, and this is an awful, awful defensive team. Somehow worse than last year. But I'm not sure how that happened. Got to look at the numbers. We have played good teams to start the season, but even with that being the case, this team just bleeds points. And a part of that too, to me, is LeBron's defensive engagement, which like as a 40-year-old, I get it. Well, I mean, I don't get it. I'm not 40, but like I think I would understand at 40 of not being as defensively locked in as he is. Then around that, if he's not locked in, then you have the foot speed issues of Rui, D'Lo, and Austin. It's just a lot on AD's plate. to take care of. So Lakers have a defensive issue, which take my lap one more time. Welcome to the Lakers again, Cam Reddish. So
Yeah, I mean, it's this happens to me quite a bit, where it's like I was hoping not to be right.
right,
Know,
yeah, no,
Like,
this is not what I'm hoping. This is not a celebratory drink. Like this is ice with water. I'm not, out here celebrating these
that would
minutes.
be funny if you're like, "Congratulations, Cam Reddish."
It's like my first drink on air is like because of that. Yeah,
It's like straight vodka because of Cam Reddish. That was a big gulp. No, yeah, I mean, look, the Lakers are at an athleticism deficiency, and they are at
Mhm.
a foot speed deficiency, and frankly, they're at a give a bleep deficiency. I went back and I watched D'Angelo Russell's minutes there, and I found that same chair that JJ Redick beat into the ground on the sideline there, and I did the same thing. It's maddening to watch this guy who has watched his free agent market absolutely dwindle. Right, he goes from being traded to the Lakers. He's a free agent that next year. And he got a couple of offers or whatever, but like the best offer that he got was from the Lakers. And it was essentially okay, we'll sign you to this deal, but you have to waive your trade clause as part of this. At the time of signing the deal, and he
Sure.
had that second year player option that he wound up taking because his free agency market was about to be shit again. He's going into this upcoming summer. It's going to be bad again, probably going to be worse. And this is the level of effort that he's giving, the level of energy that he's giving. And it's just like, it's maddening to watch this from this guy who, by the way, I have been pulling for. It would be a really cool story if after the Lakers salary dumped him, to Brooklyn the first time around, in no small part, because of Magic Johnson, who pulled the trigger on that deal, held it against D'Angelo Russell personally that he couldn't continue to employ Byron Scott when he took over. D'Lo spends some time in Brooklyn, makes the playoffs surprisingly there, goes to Minnesota, makes the playoffs again surprisingly there, gets traded back to the Lakers, goes to Golden State, somewhere in between there. That was kind of a disaster. But comes back to LA. You have this full circle potential moment. And it's just not working out, it would appear. And it's a tough story. But it's also a real one. And it's the way that this is all playing out, where it looks like he is going to be traded again by the Lakers at some point this year. They were hoping to not have to trade him. They were pulling for D'Lo too at various points here, and he's just not that guy. He's not somebody teams are willing to trust if they have playoff aspirations.
Yeah, so in basketball, obviously, we have this term KYP, right? Know your personnel, and I think that fits with your own team as well. I think you got to know your player, and I'm not excusing D'Lo's actions, but I think if you've gotten to know him, and this is something I'm sure first time a coach would kind of know as they get experienced with this. I think D'Lo and a lot of our players, Anthony, fit this bill. I think Rui fits this bill as well. As D'Lo's kind of gotten the reins a little bit more. I think Rui's touches have kind of dwindled a little bit in terms of how our offense has been run, and Rui's been out with an illness. But I think D'Lo's a player that's kind of, his effort waxes and wanes with how involved he is offensively, and that's just kind of the player that he's become. And I think if you don't know that, you're going to get these kind of mood swings. I also think D'Lo is not a player that responds well to this type of criticism. I just don't think he's the type of player where if you radically bench him, he responds by I
was doing that wrong this whole time.
Or not just that, or like a personal let me show him. It's kind of okay, this is where we're at. All right, I'm gonna go even more extreme, right? When and look, I think both of us and most people gave Darvin Ham a lot of crap for benching D'Lo for Cam Reddish at one point of last season. And I think a lot of coaches come to this realization, like, hey, if you're not going to guard for the first 6 minutes of this game, then like you're not coming in for 6 minutes of this game. And JJ hasn't gotten to that extreme, but I mean, going to 22 minutes and saying the player that can't shoot, that can't drive, that doesn't shoot, doesn't score, I want to see how he looks in your minutes. Like, that's an insane statement. Like, I played D'Lo 22 minutes because his competitive level was short. It's a very direct shot, and we'll see how D'Lo responds. I just don't think that's the type of criticism. And maybe him and JJ have a relationship. They've spoken about it. JJ said that was the player he texted the most during the summer.
Nobody believed that, by the way.
Maybe he's like the first person that like he got his number. Maybe like that's what it was. Like everyone else
nobody
just
believed it. Like the people in that room, the people who I've spoken to around the league, like even people close to the Lakers, nobody believed that. That was, look, man, JJ Redick is going to the Rob Pelinka School of Lying. So like it's it kind of is what it is. But I don't believe for a second that the guy that JJ Redick reached out to when he has LeBron James, who he held a podcast with for a while, is on that roster.
LeBron's a busy guy in the summer, though. Like that's a tough guy to get texts back from in the summer, right? Like LeBron's in Europe. LeBron's like traveling. D'Lo was home golfing with Austin Reeves. Like I'm sure that text comes back a little faster.
I bet you in that twosome of people golfing there, the person who was getting more texts between the two of them is probably Austin compared to D'Lo. Somebody
maybe he was like, "Hey, Redick, Austin, can
actually
you tell
said
D'Lo?
He was excited to coach." Like, that guy, I would imagine he probably texted back and forth with more than D'Angelo Russell. Because here's the thing, Raj, it's a really poorly kept secret at this point that the Lakers are actively always trying to trade D'Angelo Russell. They have been ever since he no-showed in the Western Conference Finals. Like you mentioned how like D'Angelo Russell doesn't really or might not respond well to this type of coaching or this type of criticism. He didn't respond well to Mike Malone calling him out by name and saying, yeah, we don't think that he can hang in this series. And then he took him out of the series. So after that series, the Lakers were like, okay, yeah, we'll re-sign you. But again, remember the way that summer went where they re-signed him to the 1-1 deal that they signed him to. But remember, there was like a few days there between the agreement and then the eventual signing of that deal. That was 3 days spent trying to trade the guy, sign and trade the guy. Except nobody wanted him on that deal. So they wind up inking the deal. And then at the following deadline, they tried to trade him, but nobody wanted to trade for D'Angelo Russell with a player option. And then now, had he accepted that player option that everybody didn't want to trade for because they knew he was going to have to accept it, now he's an expiring, and teams are still iffy about bringing him in. Still, even now, like at some point, I say this, I used to say this all the time with Aaron. Sometimes the league just tells you who you are. Sometimes the league just like lets you know, you want to be this over here, but this is who you are.
Okay,
and I think here with D'Lo, I think like you're a sixth man, and the sooner that you accept that, the fewer options you're gonna have.
So let me advocate for the devil real quick because everyone has one.
Don't know why you think that the devil needs an advocate, but okay.
Right. Look, so if I'm D'Lo and going off your theory, all right. So I guess the league is telling me I make $20 million a year. The league is telling me I'm still a starting point guard because I've started pretty much all my career with you.
Mm-hmm.
The league tells me I should still have the ball in my hands. I just broke your team's record for 3-pointers made last season, right? I carried the offense on a lot of nights. I was a starter on a Western Conference team. Like I'm sure that's in his mind, and he's a vet now. I believe he kind of is settled in who he thinks as a player. And D'Lo will gladly, candidly tell you. You could ask D'Lo at direct, hey, like, do you think you should improve your defense? Nah, it's not really what I do.
He said that on the record.
On the record. How about your game? Like, you had a tough series against Denver. Nah, I'm not really gonna get better with my right hand. I'm not really gonna drive any better. I'm not gonna get any quicker. D'Lo kind of I think has accepted who he is, and I think this is how he also goes into confrontations with coaches and other players. It's sometimes very passive aggressive, right? That he had that one quote of, "I'm not a point guard on this team. I'm just a basketball player." It's like, well, I mean, you start at point guard for the team, but
Yeah.
sure, yeah. So I think it's a very tricky situation, but I don't know, Anthony. I know that you're saying, and a lot of people and you as well have reported the Lakers have been trying to trade him. I think this season I think it's clear Rob and the front office has found that like we're not going to find a trade for this guy, at least not before February. So I don't know. I don't like. I'm sure JJ is a smart guy, can read the room, but I can also see how JJ is like, man, this is a tantalizing player. If I can get him, right? Like the same way people look at Cam Reddish in terms of like, hey, I can get that guy to like figure it out. I'm sure there's a little bit of JJ's like, hey, if I get D-Lo to figure out, this team is cooking. But now JJ's like,
It
it's
hasn't worked for
sad to
anybody else, but it might
it's re-
just work for us.
I don't know if you got to watch the full post game like press conference, but it was like really sad to see like the full belief just kind of like you could see it leave JJ's body like as he's answering these post game questions. It's kind of like, oh, this is way harder than I thought it would be. That 3-0 start was fun. I was cooking. Everyone was listening to what I was saying. Every play I run, they run it to perfection. Now, after a 1-4 game, I call a play. And I was like, what the heck was that? That's not what I called. That's not the shot that I called. It's kind of like it's sad to kind of see that from JJ. But yeah, the D-Lo situation is tricky, and I don't see him going anywhere until February. So like the team needs him to be good again for like the third season in a row. The Lakers
We aren't
need
even till December, Raj. Like a chunk of the league can't even be traded for right now.
right.
Or be traded. Now D'Lo can, Vando can, Gabe can, and JHS can. The reason I say those names is because they add up almost exactly to the $43 million that Zach LaVine is making this year.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know. I just don't see that as like the solution to get another on-ball guard that doesn't defend. Like I don't see that as the solution here. And
but
again, his contract.
Right. The last time you and I spoke, Raj, we talked about the types of small backcourts.
Yeah.
And why they work. Some of the other ones work better than the Austin and D'Lo one does, right? And it's because on any given night, either of those guards that we're talking about here can just fully go off and absolutely obliterate a defense. There are still questions about those types of small backcourts in the postseason, but at the very least, that those guys can like go out and drop 35, 40 points. Either one of them can. The problem that the Lakers have right now is that neither of them, especially with the way that the Lakers are playing through D'Lo. By the way, before they trade him, I do hope that they look. We'll see how he responds to JJ calling him out the way that he did, but I hope that they do move D'Lo to the bench and see how that makes the rotations look before they trade him, right?
Okay.
Because that would mean you actually tried everything before you called it quits and you traded. The thing about LaVine too is people. I mentioned this on Basketball Passport today, and Lee was saying that like you would probably need to include a pick there. I don't know that they would. I don't think that they could at least probably protect one of the first that they send out, because just last year Chicago was willing to attach a pick to Zach LaVine, or maybe you can get away with second round draft compensation rather than first. Again, all things that you come back to way after the fact, but or after way after the point that we're having this conversation. But I do sincerely hope before they make this move and they move off of D'Lo, that they do move him to the bench, or they do really start to stagger him in Austin and just try to, because the problem that D'Lo is having right now is that like the ball swings to him and he does not know what to do.
Yeah.
Like he catches the ball and he's like, do I shoot? Can I dribble? Am I allowed to dribble? And
Right.
that's not how D'Lo wants to play. He said it last year that, on his podcast, right? He said that like he's just a better basketball player when he has more time on the ball. Good God, the Bengals just unbelievable. Jamar Chase is just a beast. But yeah, like the thing with D'Lo is that like he needs the ball in his hands. He needs multiple dribbles per possession. I saw Cran just tweeting today that like his dribbles per possession is way lower than it was last year. I would imagine it's probably about as low as it's ever been for D'Angelo Russell. Then fine, put him with the second unit. Let him dribble to his heart's content against bad or worse defensive lineups, and bring somebody in there who can operate off of smaller windows, right? And unfortunately, the Lakers just don't really have that player right now because Max appears to not like playing basketball, and Dalton Connect is still very much a rookie. But like before they trade D'Lo, what do you think about the notion of moving him to the bench?
Man, it makes sense. Like I think they've tried this without actually benching him, right? They tried having him lead the D'Lo, LeBron second units with like Jackson Hayes, Gabe, Dalton. The problem, Anthony, and I think this is just an overall Laker issue, but it's obviously a second unit issue, and it doesn't matter where you put D'Angelo Russell. The problem is those units get blasted defensively. They just get destroyed. And there's just no amount of scoring that like lives up, that can kind of keep up with the defense that's out there. That's where you get in trouble. And again, that puts aside, in my opinion, that you lose D'Lo by benching him. There's just no conversation there where you bench a player in a contract year and they accept it, right? And I think it's part of why Minnesota keeps starting Julius Randle, which like I don't think he should start for that team. I think Nas Reed should start for that team, but Randle's in a contract year and you just traded for the guy and you can't really lose him. I'm not saying they would directly lose him, but in terms of his engagement level with that team. Really quickly on the LaVine thing, because I think this is key here. I've seen this a lot, and I understand the LaVine in terms of his health and in terms of the offensive package he would bring, and he obviously can get you 30 while giving up 35 on the other end, but that's besides the point. Like, he can obviously drop 30, 35, 40. I just think when you're building around LeBron and AD, the needs of those two is not offensive help. Like, I still think it's way more lean towards defensive rebounding, perimeter guards, guys who can lock down and do all the dirty work stuff that those guys like shouldn't have to do at this level. LeBron dropped 39 against Memphis.
And he was also, by the way, defending Jaren Jackson Jr. on the other end.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and it doesn't matter because if you can't guard at all, then it takes away all the offensive. Like, I think LeBron and AD are going to give you an offensive floor where, like, around them, the offense that's needed, LeBron, AD, Austin, and whatever other offensive like pieces around, like that should give you an offensive floor. But like, if you can't defend at all, again, bottom 6 defense right now, bottom 2 defense, giving up the 6th or 5th most points in the league. I think that's not a play-in team. Like, it's just not. Like, you're not getting close to doing anything, giving up that many points and being that awful defensively. Obviously, it's early in the season, but that's where to me the help is. And then something you didn't, like most people don't mention with Zach LaVine, like you got to give up more contracts. Like it's just you're giving up a lot of salary as well because he makes $1 bajillion. So it has to be D'Lo plus other capital. And I do think a first-round pick would have to leave here because I don't understand why Chicago would do it anyway. Other than that, it's just, I'm not for the LaVine, and I don't think he solves our issue. Like, I feel like our house is flooding and we're like getting a fire extinguisher. It's like, there's no fire. Like, you got the wrong tool. Like, let's go, get another.
There's a fire. Somebody walks in with a hammer.
Right.
I got this, guys.
Right. Yeah. That's not the issue here. We got that, we got that solved. It's freaking flooding. Like, just stop the water coming in. That's what I hear when I see Zach LaVine. It's like, you're solving an issue that isn't an issue yet. If LeBron is like way past his offensive ability, then go get a LaVine, right? Like, and then that's a necessity. But right now you have LeBron and AD in his prime, averaging the most points per game in the league. Like, points is not, in my opinion, the issue. We gave up 67 at the half. I'm blinking who we played before Memphis. We gave up 67 at the half. The team we lost to right before Detroit. Yes, we gave up 67 points at the half to Detroit. Anthony Davis played in that game. Like, that's to me a
Yeah.
way bigger issue than, we can't score against other teams. So yeah, that's my let's wait on LaVine for now.
Well, I do think they will wind up waiting on LaVine,
Hmm.
just because of the nature of the league, those types of deals. And now look, those big superstar deals do sometimes happen a little earlier in the year, not in November,
Right.
but sometimes you'll get the occasional one if a team gets desperate enough in December, maybe you get that
Sure.
kind of like pre-Christmas Christmas Day gift or something like that. But I mean, you're absolutely right to say that the Lakers need to figure out some of the shit internally. Like they aren't as bad as they have looked on that, or as they've
Shouldn't be.
looked on that road trip, right? And some of it is coaching. I think you are seeing some growing pains here from JJ. Some of it is obviously guys just need to play better. You made the point that honestly has stuck with me since you made it, but like there is no version of the Lakers that is anywhere near as good as anybody thinks that they can be with Max looking like this.
Doesn't
He
exist. Yeah.
needed to be good. And he hasn't been. He's borderline unplayable. I will say this. I didn't say this after the game because I just didn't want to say nice things about the Lakers after that Memphis game. But I do think that there's some value in Max, like just seeing the ball go through the hoop in some of those garbage minutes. Ideally, the guy that we would want starting would not be playing in garbage minutes there. But like, I just think he looks so broken as a basketball player, especially mentally and psychologically, that just getting out there and fucking around for a little bit, like actually can sometimes help and get back to unlocking it. Like we saw that in the Dodgers series against the Yankees, obviously a different sport, but Aaron Judge is clearly a very talented player. The Lakers or the Dodgers basically, punted one of those games there, and that featured throwing a pitcher up at Judge, who Judge just absolutely obliterated. And I'm like, oh no, like I don't need this guy, that hitter in a rhythm. Now, fortunately, he sucks on defense still, so that's great. The Dodgers wind up winning a World Series, but like
Mhm.
sometimes all that a basketball player needs to see, or any athlete needs to see is like a couple positive plays strung together, just a little bit of momentum, because Max has had nothing but reverse momentum to this point.
Right. Really quickly. I do this with anything, but I was like I keep rewatching the game one call, Anthony, and baseball does a great job putting it on YouTube. They put the full inning or whatever there. So I just keep listening to that call. I don't know who the announcer's name is. I forgot his name. It's like Joe something, I think, right? The play-by-play guy on
Joe
baseball.
Davis.
Yeah. He's like really good. But I just love his call on that game one World Series hitter. He's like Freeman hits a ball, right field, she's gone. And then he goes, Gibby, meet Freddie. I think that's just an amazing call.
You don't really get that kind of opportunity in basketball, right? Sometimes you get like the Breen bang, Kevin Harlan famously with no regard for human life, like with LeBron. But baseball, because you have that trot around the bases, like the coolest thing that Vince Scully would do sometimes is just shut up.
Right.
Like sometimes he would just let the crowd tell the story. And you can't quite do that, in basketball sometimes. Like you do need to fill some of that airspace. That call from Joe Davis, I told Jen, I was like, so I watched that game. It was muted at a bar after Jen's Christmas, company parties. So we were watching it at a bar. So I didn't hear the call, but on the Uber ride back, I heard the call, and I told Jen, that's as good as it gets, because Dodgers fans will tell you, and she's gone means something to Dodgers fans, because that was what Vince Scully called for Kirk Gibson's homer. And then when he says, Gibby, meet Freddie, like, yeah, that's Kirk Gibson that he's talking about in that moment.
Right.
And then it was so funny to see all of like the East Coast, like, Yankee fan, ESPN, like journalists in some cases saying like, "Oh, technically, technically,
Wasn't exactly the same. Yeah.
Freddie Freeman isn't as hurt as Kirk Gibson was clearly," and it's like he had just gotten a triple. He wasn't that hurt. It's like, shut up, all of you, you stupid dweebs. If that was a Yankee who had hit that homer, you'd be calling it like Mantle, meet Babe, meet DiMaggio, meet so and so. Like, you guys need to calm down.
It's funny because somebody online posted like the clip from when Gibby hit it versus like when Freeman hit it, and it's so close in terms of how he called it. And she's gone. And I love how like he set it up too, because it again you can hear the whole inning. He's like, every young baseball fan dreams of this, and like he's like, it's bottom of the 10th. Bottom of the 10th, World Series, Yankees, Dodgers, bases loaded. It's like a storybook kind of ending. I thought that was just a super cool moment. And yeah, basketball, you can't really like set it up. There's just not enough time between the timeout and like when the play's about to start that you can dramatize.
This is what every kid dreams of. Oh, he missed the shot.
You can't dramatize it as much as it is in baseball. But yeah, that you were speaking about Max, somehow transitioning to Max Christie. I don't know, Andy. I was having this conversation. I was talking to Vinay on Lakers Detailed. Kind of how long like do you give Max in terms of the rope here? Like, you just live with the mistakes and like we gotta make sure this like he has to be good or nothing else matters, or is it kind of like, well, if Cam Reddish is better than you, then Cam Reddish is better than you and Cam Reddish is going to play? Like, how do you like, where are you at, I guess, with that idea? Because I think it is important Max is good, but I also think he has to earn his minutes too. And that's like a tough place to be for a young player who, like, I think Cam is just legit better than him defensively. So Max has to be better at like the other parts of the game. And those parts of the game, he's not going to be able to really show on a team with the amount of ball handling and scores that exists. Like, I don't know. It's a tough place for him. But where are you at with, I guess, that idea of like, does he earn it or does he?
All right. So Max right now has a 4-year contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is 21 years old, I think, right now, somehow still.
Right.
If you think of Max, like Max Christie, the prospect, if he was being drafted in last year's draft, he would probably have gone like top 10. I would probably say, if he had spent another year or so in college basketball, so you give him, and now that the Lakers are financially, tied to this guy for 4 years, just like you would be a first-round pick, I would be treating him like a top 10 first-round pick, and those guys get that extra leeway.
Okay, yeah. But I mean, at the cost of wins, I guess is the problem here, right? Like,
I don't think that it's as crazy a cost in win. Like, the biggest thing is, Raj, like the reason that I think Max has really struggled is because his minutes have all been tied to Gabe. He's not like his minutes aren't tied to LeBron. They need to be tied to LeBron because he isn't a creator. He's a 3-and-D shooting guard. Like, again, if you just go back to how we felt about Max coming into the season, he was who I wanted to start. I still think in terms of like skill sets, he makes the most sense starting with that group. And now, yes, his season has been really disappointing. And yes, I can understand why people were like, hey, Cam, but remember how Cam looked at the beginning of last year too? Also revived with another good point. He's been playing the 3 a bunch this year. He's too small to play the 3. But remember,
we knew he would play the 3. We knew he would play the 3.
I know, but I thought it would be a mistake whenever it happened. He's 6'6", maybe, right? Like, and he's a slight 6'6". He's not like Lou Dort, who is like 6'5", 6'6", and is built like a fire hydrant. No, he's Max Christie, who's built like. I would imagine he probably weighs about 215 or so, maybe, and he's 6'5". Like, that's a slight 6'5". He's a 2. Yeah. He's a shooting guard, and like, yeah, I keep going back to same thing with D'Lo. Before we make any kind of final conclusion on D'Angelo Russell, where he gets traded, especially at diminished value, I want him in a role that makes more sense for him and the team. Before the Lakers make a decision that Cam Reddish who, by the way, we saw was a November merchant last year. Like, before we make a decision that this guy is the wing of the future, when we know that he isn't, before we go there, can we get Max as the shooting guard with like better players who aren't Gabe Vincent, who wasn't fucking shooting when he was next to Max out there? Like, I don't think that is too much to ask of JJ here. And I know, again, like, I know that you're squeezing stuff around him to make it work, but that's what teams do with top 10 picks who are signed to $32 million deals over the next 4 years.
Right. And that doesn't look like the approach that's going on. I think Max was definitely propped up.
I think it's stupid because we just talked about Jay Huff. We talked about Scottie Pippen. We're going to talk about Colin Castleton at some point this year. And the problem that the Lakers keep having is that they keep on giving up on these guys because they have these, like, they have their minds made up on who these guys are. And then, like, that's not who they are. And then they go to a place where they get slotted into roles that make more sense for them. And, oh, wouldn't you know it, the scouting department actually knew what they were doing.
Right. Yeah. And this was my problem, honestly, with the SPJ and J Huff. It was like, man, we're playing these guys in garbage time. Like, garbage time tells me nothing. Again, I don't want to bring up JHS again, but like, he played 100 minutes, Anthony. I think like 80 of them were in garbage time minutes. He was better than Scottie Pippen in G League last year. He averaged more points. He was just a better overall player. And yeah, with Max, it's just, again, I think it's tough because of the guard rotation we have. Like, I would like to see him with the starters a little bit. I think he needs a lineup, Anthony, where he has the least amount of responsibility. Like, his responsibility is almost none on the offensive end, right? You're a cutter, you're a finisher. That's it. You don't run pick and rolls. You don't have to make decisions on mid-range pull-ups. You attack closeouts and you take open threes and you guard. That's it. But again, like, getting him minutes in that is tough. He's playing only second units. Dalton, same thing to me. Dalton's playing in second units where his defense can be taken advantage of. Not playing a lot of minutes next to AD, playing a lot of minutes next to Jackson Hayes. And JJ has some strange rule where he doesn't play the first and third quarters for some reason. Dalton only plays the second and fourth. It's a strange rotation, and I think JJ's trying to keep lineups together. And maybe, like, going forward, he takes Gabe out of the rotation a little bit, messes with D'Lo's minutes, who had 22. I'm with you. Looks like Max's trust is getting, taken away, is what I see. And I think JJ is getting close to, and a lot of coaches get to this point, which is where the Cam Reddish button is pressed. It's like, oh shoot, I gotta start winning. Like, experimentation is over. Like, I can't try stuff anymore. I gotta win. The scoreboard has to tell me. The scoreboard now dictates what I'm doing. Right? Instead of, I have all these philosophies, I have all these plays, I have all these ideas of what the theory of what it should be. But the scoreboard is like, cool, man, you're down 20. Like, you're going to need to put in, players that are effective. And Cam has been a plus in I think he was a +0 against Memphis, which was a positive considering what the other guys were at, but was a plus in the Detroit game. That's loud to a coach that's searching for athletes.
All right. Instead of having Cam take Max's minutes, have him take Gabe's minutes, who sucks anyway. Like, you have 2 point guards in D'Lo and Austin. Like, what's Gabe giving you that Max couldn't? Max could go out there and not shoot. Like, if you're gonna, like, honestly, Raj, I would kind of like to see a lineup with Max and Cam out there and have that level of disruption on the perimeter. And have that level of foot speed and athleticism on the perimeter. That's not something they've had to this point.
We forget, Charlie Harrison, people forget, but like last year I always forget, it's not playing in-season tournament, we had Max, Cam, and Vando like flying around. And that was like a big part of us beating the Pelicans and the Pacers. Wow, those are the 2 teams that made it. But like the Pelicans and the Pacers in those finals was Max, Cam, and Vando being this like 3-headed defensive wing monster. Where, like, man, can we just combine? I remember the conversation was like, can you just combine Cam, Max, and Vando into one player? And like,
Rui too, why not?
Yeah, Rui. Yeah,
you
just
get
put them all
Brown
together. Right. Yeah, who can't dribble with his left hands for some reason. Like, somehow they still have a real flaw when you combine all those 4 players together.
You wound up being perfect.
Combine 4 players into one. You still can't get like a complete basketball player. That's sad. Those are like our 4 best wings. It's like,
You have 4 wings together and they aren't the perfect basketball player. You're doing things wrong as a front office. You have 4. I mean, do the same thing with the guards that they have too,
oh
right?
man.
Like,
Pops out like Trey Jones. Like, damn.
it's like is it Keontae George, right? Is the Utah Jazz
Right,
point
yeah.
guard, right? Like, it's like he's a nice player, whatever, but like you combine 4 players to make Keontae George.
It's like 80 million in salary. Like pops out Keontae George. Like this washed up version of Dame just
That's the
comes out.
darkest I think this show has ever gotten. That realization right there of like you could add up entire rotations, like positional rotations, and still not get the perfect player. That's impressive. All right. On that note, that's a perfect place to end the show, frankly. On that note, that is going to do it here for this episode and this week's episodes here of the Lakers Lounge
You have the
podcast.
starred comments that you haven't gone through.
Oh,
yet.
we have one. All right, cool. We have one. Oh yeah. Well, we do need to play this one for you, Raj. Kadeem Gaines writes, I'm late to the live, but I wanted to congratulate you both for all your amazing work, and it's been awesome to see your tremendous growth. Keep it up, guys. Raj, you're getting full credit for that one. The channel is growing the way that it is, the lounge is growing the way that it is. But Raj, before we get out of here, I'm glad that you mentioned the super comment there, because I am again absolutely thrilled for you in this opportunity, and I know that you're going to kick ass in it, and you're going to grow with it, and you're going to grow from it, and because of it. And Clutch Points is going to be better off for having you in the company. So, congratulations, bud. Hope you had fun at Media Day.
Oh yeah,
and I can't wait to Saturday, dude. Like you go from all of the congratulations to boom,
yeah,
an
I'm
absolute
hyped.
circus on Saturday.
Game is at 5. I'll be there at 1, knocking on the door. I'll be right out there. Thank you, Kadeem. Appreciate it. My guy, Kadeem on Twitter. But yeah, thank you, Anthony. And yeah, thank you. I'm excited to keep growing, man. And work starts now.
All right. Again, please make sure you guys are hitting the like button here on YouTube. Please hit that subscribe button here on YouTube. If you guys are watching on Twitter, head on over to youtube.com/@LakersLounge to find us. If you guys are listening to this in the morning, please hit subscribe everywhere it is that you get your podcasts, and then leave those 5-star iTunes reviews as well. Tell your friends that you love the show. Tell your enemies that you hate it. And have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's. And I will talk to you guys on Sunday. Have a good one, everybody.